Okay, this is something new that I'm getting ready to do. Right below is a payment plan. I know that the course is very, very expensive. If you can't afford it, I'm not mad at you, but right now is the payment plan. So you can get into the art of holding. I'm getting ready to add more content to the course. So below is the payment plan that you can get in, and essentially what you can do is go ahead and start to get the concepts and the ideals of the art of holding. The links below for you to get into the payment plan, for you to sign up. And I'm going to make it a bundle where I'm going to include the money management course, all this other stuff. So you can go ahead and get into it. And the link is below. So let's go ahead and get into this video on how to start a business when you have a job from scratch. And the topic is hiring people. All right, so in this video, we're gonna talk about how to start a business when you have a job. Now, one of the things I'm doing is putting this channel together totally differently. So go back and watch all the videos and they will be helpful for you. Because in this video, we're gonna talk about what you need to do to start a business when you have a job. And this is one of the trickiest parts of starting a business, because let me explain to you that happened to a client who I was working with one-on-one, and this was extremely expensive, so I'm not recommending that. But essentially, my client had $150,000 to play around with, and she used some of that money to hire me. And this is one of the things that we went through. She had a job, her husband had a job, and she wanted to start a cleaning service. So what we did, and this is one of the things that you guys have really got to understand, hiring people is not easy, because we literally hired not one, not two, but 3 people for the same position over 2.5 months. Because essentially, I know that many people online make things like to start a business is going to be easy and everything. No. In the beginning, it's going to be rough. And I remember our conversation after the first person we hired, who actually put on a good dog and pony show, who actually just didn't do the work. So we had to hire another person who didn't do the work. And then the third person, who happened to be Hispanic, actually did the work. And let me go ahead and kind of paint what we did to help you with your business. Literally, we hired a person to do the cleaning, and we hired a person to do the management. Now, the first person was the person that was going to do the management. And this is where we ran into problems, because there's a lot of people who can do the job, but they can't manage people. So we hired this lady who was from Colombia, who actually was quite well spoken. And she actually did a really good job cleaning, and she actually became the manager, because literally we hired a person and they could clean, but they couldn't manage, because the goal was to hire 2 people. And that first person was the hardest one to hire, because literally that first person was the foundation which the other people who would be hired would be built on. And this is why we had so many problems. So this third person we hired, then we instantly hired another cleaner. And this first person actually managed the calls. Now, here's the question. Many of you are going to ask, like, how do we get clients? Because essentially, I will tell you, we ran Google ads. And because she had money, and this is another thing, the Google ads did not work immediately. It literally took about 2 months for the Google ads to start working, but we had to run the Google ads. So we ran the Google ads. The first person, we had to literally build up a queue and a whole process for when the leads would come in. And one of the things that worked really, really well is we would do a free first cleaning. This was costly because the manager had to be paid and the cleaner had to be paid. So we did that first cleaning, and typically we were hooking people, like 75% of the people who went with the free cleaning became regular customers. So we had a 25% loss rate. And this went on for about 6 months. And then around month 6, we had the manager, we had the cleaner, and then we hired 5 more cleaners. And we increased the cost of the ads that we were running. And literally we were able, because essentially the foundational stuff is the hardest stuff. getting it set up, because once we had the manager, because literally when we hired those 5 other cleaners, the manager actually stopped cleaning, and her job was to manage the cleaning and to manage the customer relationships and to manage the phone calls and to manage all this other stuff. And literally, once we got that set, the business just took off. 6th month, we hired 5 cleaners. The 7th month, we hired 5 more. So we had 10 cleaners and we had 1 manager all on payroll. And this is when things started really percolate. Now, once again, this person who hired me was paying me for those 6 months, even though we were not getting immediate and fast results. And this is one of the things that just kills people. It just kills people, because you start a business, there's this expectation in your head that you're gonna have immediate success, because this is what I call the job mentality situation. You have a job, you go to work, you get paid. It doesn't work like that for business. And then month 8, we hired 5 more cleaners. So month 6, month 7, month 8, we hired 15 people in those 3 months. And this is when the cleaning business was percolating. This is when the income was coming in. I believe, because I have to think, she was doing with 15 cleaners about $5,000 per week in gross revenue. So she was doing $20,000 per month. I believe the cleaners were getting paid like, I want to say $10. $10 times 15. So 150 times 40 is, so at that point, we were just kind of breaking even though we were doing $20,000 a month. And then when we started to get more jobs, when we got up to $40,000 a month, and this is when the profit started to come in, because she still had the same 15 cleaners, but now the revenue had doubled. So she was making $5,000 per week sitting in her office. And the way that we built this business, and this is something that I need to really get down and teach, because the hardest part is going to be hiring people. That's going to be the hardest, most aggravating. And this woman literally actually used her vacation time to set up appointments to interview and to hire people. And I was on the phone during the hiring process. And this is how she built this business. Now, here's the thing that you can do. You can go ahead and start hiring people, and essentially, I would be really careful with this. I would not give someone equity. This is a big mistake that a lot of people do. It's like, I'll give you a percentage of the job, right? No, this is one of the reasons in the first video I said you needed to get your income together. You need to have money, because there's going to be a period where you're going to hire people, you're going to spend money, and you're not going to make money. Now, this period is typically going to be short. It may be 6 weeks, it may be 2 months where you will invest money in your business without getting any positive return. And this is really hard, but this is the way that multi-million-dollar businesses have been built. Multi-million-dollar per year businesses. Because once again, the beginning is really tough. So let's go ahead and talk about your situation. You don't have $150,000 to play it with. You don't have the money to hire me to walk you through it step to step. What would you do? Number 1, go back to that video where I'm talking about you need to get your personal finances in order. That's going to be key, because it's going to be really hard to hire someone when you don't have money to pay them. That's going to be hard. And you have to look at this as an investment. And this is why the holding company situation is so important. You create your holding company, you create operating company number 1, you create operating company number 2, operating company number 3, operating company number 4. So you already have your corporate structure set up, and you're already in a position where once the money comes in, and this is key, you do not want to convert your corporation into an S Corp until the money starts coming in. And typically this was about, we converted her company into an S Corp, I would say month eight, because at this point she had income that was coming in, and she put herself on a paycheck. And also because she had ADP, for the 16 people she had hired, she just went ahead, went into the ADP, and then put herself on payroll as the president. And this is the beauty of this, because the way that this business was built, she was apart from the business. She was apart from the business. So essentially, when she got to the point, because literally we had many, many conversations, because she wanted to quit her job. And I said, you're not going to quit your job till you have $150,000 in the bank. Why did I actually tell her that? One, her job provided health insurance, even though she had a husband who was working and she could have went on his health insurance. But essentially, this is one of the things that I teach people when I'm working with them. I teach people how to be way ahead of the curve, because she had a good job, she was making money, it wasn't too stressful, and I wanted her to be so far ahead. She was paying herself like $20,000 a month, and then she said, I have I think $50,000 in the bank, and I quit my job. I said no, and then we got to $150,000. She was able to quit her job, and then she went on her husband's health insurance. They had children, and everyone converted to insurance on her husband's job. Now, at this point, we're about close to 2 years in, and she's sitting at home, she's chilling, because the manager that she hired, and this is one of the conversations that we had, the manager was doing a really, really good job. So one of the things that you wanted to do, because essentially her manager was doing a really, really good job. She was coordinating, she was managing stuff, she was getting good reviews. I said, this is the time to bring your manager into the office and give her a raise, even though the manager wasn't asking for a raise. Because see, this is one of the lock-ins, because I think she was paying the manager, she was paying the cleaning people like $10 an hour, and the manager was getting 12. And I say, what you want to do is pay the manager $25 per hour. Now, why could we pay the manager $25 per hour? The money was already there. The money was already coming in. The money was coming. So she brought the manager in, and she's like, look, we need to give you a raise. You're doing a good job. We're going to pay you $25 an hour. The woman literally started crying. She was just so happy. She was so thrilled. And this is what I call the lock-in period. She had a really good employee, and she locked her in because she paid her $25 per hour, which was much higher than anyone else would pay for the same position. So she locked her in. And as I remember, that manager is still working for her today. And this is like 8-9 years that she's still working for. So let's go ahead and talk once again and talk about you. What can you do, and how can you go ahead and hire someone? Number one, hiring people is very, very hard. And every time I have to hire someone, I have this process where in my mind, I know that I may have to go to 2, 3, or 4 people. It's just the way it is, because one, again, everybody wants a job until it's time to do the work. So here you are, and I'm gonna give you a scenario of what you can do where you can hire a person, and this works for whatever you want to start. Number one, go back to the video, get your personal finances together, and then go ahead and set up your holding company, okay? And then you have the money to actually employ someone while you're working your job. Because essentially what you want to do is build this thing where it runs as much as possible without you. Let me say that again. You want to build this thing where it runs as much as possible without you. Because if you go ahead, and this is something that I'm probably going to put into the holding company course, is when you set this up, you immediately take on the role of a manager. You immediately become the manager. And to this day, this woman has never cleaned the house. She's never done any of the work, because she's always had people who were hired to run her cleaning business. So once again, let's get back to you. I want you to have maybe, let's just go ahead and give you a hard number. You have a position where your household bills, you easily pay your household bills. I want you to be in the position where after paying your household bills, you have $1,500 left over. That's the first thing. Second thing, I want you to have around $10,000. $10,000 saved up. And now, how can we get to this $10,000? Number one, I go back to when I got my first savings account. I went out and got an additional job, and all of that money from the additional job went into saving up money for my emergency fund. So let's say maybe you can do Uber, maybe you can do DoorDash, and just take all of that money and throw it in that savings account. So it gives you about $10,000, and then essentially you have $1,500 per month that comes into your household that you do not have to use to pay bills. You don't have to use to pay the carb note or whatever. So this is the position where you can go ahead and hire someone. Now, this is the question: what kind of business should I start? Once again, this is going to probably be a totally different video because this is too much information, but we'll get into that in another video. Be sure to subscribe and look out for that. I'll probably do that one next. But that's kind of where you want to be. You want to have as much debt paid off. You don't want to have a car payment. Essentially, you want to make your personal financial life as lean as possible, so you can go ahead and start your business. And one of the things that you really want to do is those are some benchmarks. $1,500 a month after paying bills and $10,000 straight up cash in the bank. And this is enough money for you to hire someone to get your business started, depending on what kind of business, because we're going to have more conversations about businesses and the things that you can get into. Right now, everyone is trying to become a content creator. Let me go ahead and tell you what's going to happen with that. And I've already seen signs of it happening. You're going to see less and less traction. You go to your YouTube dashboard and you'll see someone with a video that's 2 days old that has 37 views. Content creation is getting flooded. And there are many people who have no clue on how to do content creation. But essentially, in 5 years or less, it's going to be really, really hard for brand new people to walk into content creation and make a lot of money. It's just going to be really, really hard. And that's what everyone's trying to get into: content creation, creating content, user-generated UGC, user-generated content. And these things are being flooded with people. And the same thing that happened to Amazon FBA will happen to content creation. The same thing that happened to Airbnb will happen to content creation. The same thing that happened to Turo will happen to content creation. So we're going to start having interesting business concepts and talks about what kind of business that you have to get into. But first, we need to get set up and position ourselves where we can literally have the money to hire someone. And once again, hiring is difficult. I'm not going to play around with you. Hiring is very, very difficult. And I'm about to say something, and this may come across a little anti-American. You probably want to hire an immigrant, maybe a Hispanic, maybe an Asian person. This is a group of people who are used to working and they will get the job done. So this is the thing, and this is the position that you need to put yourself into to give yourself the option to start a business. And this is anything. This is pretty much anything that you can do, anything that you want to do. Okay? All right, so that's all I got for this video. Check it out and go ahead and check out the other videos, and I'll be adding more useful content on how to start a business and how to position yourself to start a business. That's all for this video.